Over this series of videos, I'll be breaking down what I consider to be the 5 best and the 5 worst episodes from each season of Star Trek The Next Generation. For a more detailed breakdown of every single episode, you can check out my podcast linked in the video description below. Season 2 of The Next Generation is a weird transitional season for the show. Riker has a beard, Dr. Crusher has been replaced by guest star Diana Muldaur as the peculiar Dr. Pulaski, and a writer's strike reduced the number of episodes that were produced. The show is starting to become more comfortable with itself, but it still doesn't look or feel quite right. That said, let's take a look at the 5 worst episodes from the second season of The Next Generation. Number 5, The Icarus Factor.
Dad.
In this episode, Riker must decide whether to accept command of his own starship, and negative feelings surface when his estranged father arrives to brief him on the mission. The introduction of Commander Riker's father doesn't really go as planned. Kyle Riker is a terrible person. This is a man who abandoned his 12-year-old son when the boy's mother passed away. Now he's apparently something of a Starfleet celebrity, although the reasons for why this is are never explained. Despite the character's past actions, the show views him as a hero and someone to be respected. Dr. Pulaski's character is given some depth here, but unfortunately it's done by claiming that she and the elder Riker used to be an item. Pulaski was already having trouble fitting into the tone of the show, but it was a mistake to write her as having once been in a relationship with this garbage person, Kyle Riker. It reflects badly on an already problematic character. The episode is infamous for its cringeworthy Anbo Jitsu scene between the two Rikers. We're told that Anbo Jitsu is the greatest martial art ever developed, but it looks like an idiotic American Gladiators event being performed by blind samurai. The Icarus Factor is an early TNG attempt at doing family drama, and it fails in pretty much every way possible. Number 4, The Dolphin.
Wolf!
In this episode, the Enterprise must transport a young head of state to the planet she is to lead. We all know by now that Wesley Crusher will save the day, but will he ever find true love? A terrible love story. The Dolphin is an episode that highlights the worst aspects of the Wesley Crusher character. It's bad enough when a ship full of highly trained Starfleet officers is saved by the boy Wonder, but now the audience is forced to watch Will Wheaton act like he's smitten with an alien shapeshifter. The Dolphin is bad mostly because it's unbelievably boring. The love story is weak and uninspired, the costuming is terrible, and the central conflict is another case of the show taking place as the characters travel to what seems like a more important event. The Dolphin, or Le Dauphin, is a completely forgettable episode of The Next Generation. Number 3, Shades of Grey.
Do we have a choice?
No.
In this episode, Commander Riker undergoes medical treatment by Dr. Pulaski for an alien infection and must relive numerous past events. Shades of Grey is frequently mentioned as the worst episode the series ever did. It definitely has 2 things going against it. It's a clip show, and it's an unbelievably lazy clip show. It's my opinion that the clip show aspect is sometimes played up a bit too much when people criticize the episode. Clip shows were an unfortunate staple of the era, and although they're annoying, it's not like the concept was unheard of when TNG aired Shades of Grey. The problem with Shades of Grey is that the story built around the clips is lazy and nonsensical. Every scene outside of the clips takes place in sickbay as Dr. Pulaski tries a bunch of random things to cure the infection that's killing Riker. There's no logic to the solution. This is a pure example of the story happening because, hey, these are the clips we have, so write a story around them. I don't think Shades is the worst episode Star Trek or even The Next Generation ever did, but it's an easy target for criticism because it's so lazy and so dumb. Number 2, Where Silence Has Lis.
One Riker, one bridge!
In this episode, the Enterprise becomes enveloped by a void in space where the crew are tested by a powerful alien presence. The title of this one is terrible. It was taken from the last stanza of a 1907 poem, The Spell of the Yukon, and the poem has nothing to do with anything that happens in this episode. And you know what? That's sort of fitting. Everything about this one screams bottle episode. A bottle episode is an attempt to save money on production cost, usually by limiting guest actors and the number of sets and special effects used. In Where Silence Has Lis, the Enterprise encounters the USS Yamato, which is luckily another Galaxy-class starship. The Yamato interiors are identical to the Enterprise interiors, but there's no one on the ship. And that is how you save money, folks. The antagonist of this episode is a space cloud named Nagilum, and he's yet another take on the overused omnipotent entity. A staple of the original series, these kinds of characters are starting to feel dated and cliché in The Next Generation. A painfully dull episode, Where Silence Has Lis feels like it drags on and on forever. Fortunately, it does end at some point. Number 1, The Child. In this episode, ship counselor Deanna Troi gives birth to a mysterious child while the Enterprise transports dangerous cargo. The first episode of the second season was originally written as a Phase 2 script. When the writer's strike delayed the Next Generation production process, the script was dusted off and rewritten to use the TNG characters. It was not a success. The episode is remarkable in how apathetic it is towards what is essentially the rape of a main character. It's unclear to the audience if the alien inside Counselor Troy is controlling her, but the crew takes her decisions at face value and acts as if nothing remarkable has happened. Even when the pregnancy comes to full term in 36 hours, and then the child becomes the equivalent of a 4-year-old after a single day. In the episode's final disgrace, it uses the death of the alien to emotionally manipulate Troy and the audience. The Troy character seems to be devastated, which barely makes sense within the narrative itself, and the audience is expected to find the reactions of the crew to be rational and correct. They are neither. The Child is a tone-deaf episode that feels gross and manipulative. It is the worst episode of The Next Generation's second season. Let me know what you think the worst episode of the second season is. Leave a comment below letting me know, and I thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.